I'm Nicole Crane, and today we're going to be talking about conscious belief systems and how that relates to empowerment. And in a minute, we're going to be talking about failing forward and what that means. So both of these are in support for Solo, my program, which is starting on June 17th. If you'd like more details on that, I will also I'm not going to put the link right now. I'll put it in the replay. Put the link for the application for Solo. Just so you know what to expect, it's $777 for 4 weeks. It's one-on-one coaching. And usually I don't offer it at such a reduced rate, but it's actually a blend of personally guided work for 2 weeks and one-on-one coaching for an hour each session for the other 2 weeks. So I'm giving that a shot, seeing how the blended work appeals to people. This is also like a testing of this program, so it is a reduced rate. In the future, it will be a little bit more expensive. So I would love to get you in. I am taking discovery calls currently for this program, so if you're interested, let's get one scheduled and we can check in where you're at. I'm super excited to start doing those. So it's actually come up twice in the past 2 days, both in conversations with men. So basically, both conversations were around the idea that society has these imposed belief systems that most of us take on almost unconsciously, whether we completely don't realize that we have sovereign choice to believe what we've been taught or to kind of deny it and discard it and shed it. Or if we consciously recognize that and for whatever reason, whether it's to have love or acceptance or safety or whatever, we choose to go against our own conscious choices and conscious beliefs in order to have a sense of belonging. So really, for me, like the biggest thing that's coming up right now is around sex work. So I feel like there, especially in light of the whole like FOSTA SESTA thing, there's a lot of internalized shame that I'm dealing with. And it's really interesting as I'm like going in and kind of unwinding like what beliefs are kind of imposed, whether it's by religion or society or even my family, and what I honestly believe either through personal experience or what I would consciously choose to move forward in order to make me feel both safe and happy, especially in the workplace. So some of the things that I'm coming up against are that like sex workers, and these are societal beliefs, these are not my personal beliefs, just to make note. But the ideas that I'm kind of unwinding and trying to shed and discard myself are that sex workers are of less value than other people in society, or that bad things that happen to sex workers on the job are to be expected. Like, what do we expect to put ourselves in those positions? Or that sex work is always damaging and traumatic to the sex workers. So some of the ideas that I'm empowering myself around are that it's safe for me to happily exist as a sex worker, that I am empowered every time I show up for work, that I don't have to do things that don't turn me on genuinely and that don't make me feel happy and safe. And I mean, there's some wiggle room. Like, we're not always going to be like at like a maximum level of turn on at work. Even if I'm doing my sex coaching, like, we're going to have off days, which is kind of a little bit of where the failing forward comes in. But for the most part, I genuinely do feel like I conduct myself at work in a way that commands respect, that helps me show up as the ultimate authority on my boundaries and what's acceptable and what's unacceptable and won't be tolerated. And usually when my energy is really pure on that, like I don't even have to say anything. People just show up and treat me like a queen, and they give me extra money, and they actually kind of court me in a way. And so I've noticed, like, when my energy is a little bit off, or like things happen in my personal life that I drag into work, that's when disrespect comes up. That's when I have to verbalize my boundaries. That's when I have to like give people like a warning and then shut it down, things like that. So it's really interesting to come in with a sense of curiosity instead of judgment or predetermined like laws, like this is the way things are. So it's been really fascinating to kind of play with that. But honestly, this doesn't just apply to sex work. It applies to religion. It applies to how we view ourselves. You can apply it to anything really, but those are some of the things that are coming up as I'm just talking about it. And a little bit about empowerment. So the 2 one-on-one sessions in Solo, the one-on-one coaching program that's starting in a couple of weeks here, they're both empowerment processes. So the application that I'm going to put in the links, which, I mean, honestly, if you're curious, just take a look at it anyway, because these are really fascinating things to kind of gauge and look at in your own life. But the 2 sessions are going to be around the areas that you feel you desire the most empowerment in your life, or on the other hand, the places where you feel the most disempowered and you would like to work on. So I do have a lot of information on empowerment and the different areas that we will most likely touch on my YouTube channel, or also in this Nicole Crane coaching group here on Facebook. Those are still intact and available for free. They were kind of in support of my WPOW program, but I do believe that empowerment applies pretty similarly to both genders, or all genders. So the last thing I want to speak about is failing forward, which is kind of like my personal mantra for the year. And the reason that came up for me is because I've had a really sad week and weekend. I'm just mourning a bunch of losses, and I'm experiencing a lot of emotion. Like, I actually cried at the Pride Festival yesterday, kind of at the encouragement of a friend, because I was trying to just like hold it together and be presentable and not embarrass myself. And it actually took like my friend not only giving me permission, but like kind of encouraging passersby to give me permission. And I mean, it really touched me, and that's when the dams broke, and I couldn't help but just cry out of surrender to being fully present with my discomfort and my sadness and my sense of loss and nostalgia. So sorry, I'm like getting all verklempt now. But the beautiful thing about showing up and being present is that it doesn't have to be perfect. And the interesting thing about human interaction is that it's typically more potent medicine when it's not perfect. So I think that there's a whole lot to be said for people's intent. And of course, it has to be followed up with by action. But I think that if you're well-intended and you suck at something, as long as you show up and you're present and you bring your whole heart and all of your focus, even if it sucks, it might be great for somebody. So that's my hope when I'm creating this content, because honestly, like I don't know what I'm doing, which is like a live stream that I've been meaning to do for ages, but I just can't get my ego out of the way enough to properly do it justice. But I really do feel like the commitment to show up is my greatest asset right now, because even if I'm not perfect, even if I'm kind of a mess, even if I don't exactly know the entire script of what I'm going to talk about or what direction it's going to take. At least I am creating forward momentum. So I love the freedom that comes from not demanding perfection from myself, because I know a lot of type A people are like this, and I know a lot of both Libras and Virgos are like this, where we get really stuck in the perfectionism of things, and everything has to be beautiful, and everything has to be organized, and everything has to be neat, and everything has to be pre-planned. And if anything goes wrong, then you just lose your shit and it's ruined and you give up and like the whole thing's fucked. So I would really encourage those of us who really suffer with and from perfectionism to embrace failing forward, because even if it's not like a steady incline of perfection and progress, and there are a lot of jags and there's a lot of backsliding, like I had a full-on emotional relapse over the weekend, and even though it was all emotional and psychological, like I gave into some really fucked up addictive behavior that I'm not proud of. And honestly, I just love myself as much as ever, because as both a nurturer and a complete fucking mess, like there's something really, really, really beautiful about like really hitting bottom. So like my inner mama bear is just like, oh sweetie, like you really wanted to go there, didn't you? Bless your little undignified heart. Like, come get a hug. Like, let's wash off your emotional bloody knees. So I'd really encourage you this week, and especially over the summer, if you suffer from this like weird reverse seasonal, what's it called? Seasonal, I don't know, the sad thing that most people get in the winter. Like I get it in the summertime, and I know a couple friends of mine do. So it feels very stigmatized, because everyone's like making love and growing gardens and going to festivals and doing all this amazing summertime stuff and having picnics, and everyone's like, what's your fucking problem? Like, why are you the party pooper? Like, just get happy. So there's like added pressure and added guilt. So I would just really encourage you to find whatever place, whether it's like a personality that shows up like my mama bear, or even if it's just like a location in your body, like your heart chakra or your actual heart, a part that can have compassion for your flaws and can just like really hold them and cherish them and make space for them to safely exist without any expectation of changing. So that is one of the most beautiful pieces of my work that has benefited me personally the most. So I just really wanted to share that with you today, and sending you lots of beginning of the week, Monday happiness and joy and love. Mwah. So hang in there, everybody. We're going to make it, and have a good evening. Bye.